Every family has that one movie that's like the family movie. And for my family growing up, that was The Princess Bride. We all watched it all the time. Now it's more The Lord of the Rings because all of us kids are a little bit older. I think the youngest is like 12. So like we watched The Lord of the Rings every year. But like growing up, it was The Princess Bride. But somehow I hadn't read the book until now. And this book is incredible. I love this book. And I'll talk about my personal opinions later in the video. But right now, what is The Princess Bride? Basically, the story behind the story, William Goldman, the writer of The Princess Bride, is just adapting / bridging a longer book called The Princess Bride by S. Morganson. S. Morganson does not exist. But basically, in this made-up reality that he's playing in, his father read him this book as a kid. He loved the book, fell in love with reading because of the book. And so he gave it to his son one day, and his son's like, I do not like the book. And he's like, why? Why is this the case? And so finally, he picked up the book himself and started reading, and he's like, oh, wait a second. Oh, wow, this is filled with a bunch of unnecessary stuff. And he realized that his father had not actually read in the book. He just summarized the book for him. And so thus, he made a summary of this book. So the book is just the actual book, The Princess Bride by William Goldman, is filled with a bunch of random comments like, yeah, and then the next 60 pages is just her unpacking her stuff. So we're going to skip over that. And it's really a hilarious book. I was actually listening to an audiobook of it at work, and I was trying my best not to die of laughter and hope no customers well, actually, it was in the middle of the night, so no customers were around, but none of my coworkers would be confused why I was just suddenly dying of laughter, because it's there was such hilarious moments in this book. Anyways, so a summary of so you know the drill. A summary of the book, then we'll talk about my thoughts. So, The Princess Bride follows Buttercup, a farm girl who lives with her parents, unlike the movie where it's just her. And they had this hired young man, Westley, who's the farm boy, come in, and he, helps out, does a bunch of the farm chores and all. And she falls in love with him, only to reveal that he had fallen in love with her long before, and he's like, I'm gonna go off and I'm going to get my fortune, and once I come back, we can move in together, we can fall in love, and we can, have a happy life. So he leaves, but tragedy ensues, and his ship gets taken over by the Dread Pirate Roberts, the greatest pirate known. It was very clear there's no survivors. The Dread Pirate Roberts never take survivors. So basically what happens is, she, for years, is depressed. And then finally, the Prince Humperdinck of the kingdom she lives in, Florida, Prince Humperdinck, who is this, big, muscular man who doesn't want to settle down, but, because he's super into, hunting, and he's got so good at it that he now has this zoo underground where he can fight, cobras and lions and stuff like that, and he's just, that's his lifestyle and all. And eventually, but his father's getting sick, and so he's like, I need to settle down with someone. So thus, he chooses Buttercup, and she finally is like, okay, I'm willing to marry you, but no love, because I promised I would never fall in love again. And basically, they get together, but she gets kidnapped by three of the best characters from the whole story: Virginie, Emilia Montoya, and Fezzik. One's a Sicilian, one's a Spaniard, and one is a giant. And they take her, and basically you figure out later on in the story that here they were actually hired to take her so they could kill her, and then thus the prince could do what he actually wanted to do and start a war with the neighboring country of Gilder. And so basically, while they're trying to get away with her, they notice that there is a boat following them with this man clothed in complete black. And so they take her to the Cliffs of Insanity, start climbing, then the man in black is still following them up the cliff, and they get up to the top, cut it, he's managed to survive. The giant and the Sicilian leave, leaving the Spaniard to come and defeat him. And then you've heard the story behind the Spaniard, Emilia Montoya, and how his father was an incredible swordsmaker, and this six-figure man asked him to make a sword, but he did not like it in the end, and so thus he killed him. And Emilia Montoya has been spending the rest of his life trying to fight training himself so he could fight this man and kill him. The man in black and the Spaniard have a fight. The man in black wins. He goes on, he beats the giant, gets the Sicilian and Buttercup, poisons the Sicilian, gets Buttercup, and runs off with her. At this point, surprise, surprise, you realize that this man in black is her lover himself, Westley, who is now the Dread Pirate Roberts. He took over from the last Dread Pirate Roberts, and you they go into the fire swamp, and he explains all this about the Dread Pirate Roberts is actually not the original Dread Pirate Roberts, and how it had been passed down from name to name, and it's more about the name that brings the fear, and not the actual Dread Pirate Roberts himself. They get to the end of the fire swamp with some quicksand and rodents of unusual size and all those good stuff, and they get captured by the prince, and she's taken back to the castle, and he's taken to the Pits of Despair, or the zoo, as it's mostly called in the book. You have just her storyline of, she chose to accept that she had to marry Prince Humperdinck so she could save Wesley's life, not knowing that Wesley was not safe, and he was actually in the Pit of Despair being tortured, and she's starting to have these dreams about, her baby. She gives birth to a baby who then starts screaming at her that she's the worst thing ever, and that her milk is sour, and then it says boom, it just disappears. And there's this old woman that everyone knows that line from the movie of boo, boo to the queen of slime, the queen of filth, boo, boo, boo. I love that line. Anyways, yeah, so basically he keeps getting tortured. She thinks he's alive. She tells the prince, hey, I really feel like I can't do this. Can you just send a letter to the Dread Pirate Roberts and ask if he truly does love me, he come get me, and if he doesn't, I'll accept your proposal and all. And so basically he says he's gonna do this, but he's not actually doing it, and he's just continuing to torture Wesley on the machine, as it's called. Absolutely love that. And eventually she just gets to the point where she's like, okay, even if he doesn't come, I don't want to marry you. My love is with him, I don't care. And he's finally just not in a place of actually wanting to love her, but in a place of just feeling so entitled from himself. He's like, okay, fine. And he goes to the back down there, and he pulls the lever up of the machine all the way to 99, sucking out all the life in Wesley, killing him. At this point, then you figure out that Fezzik and Emilio Montoya is actually still alive, and they meet up, and Emilio Montoya figures out, oh, the Count is the six-finger man. He's like, I can finally get my revenge. But there's one person who could beat me, and with only the two of us, we really can't do this. We need the help of the Man in Black. And so they go searching for him. Eventually go and find the Pit of Despair, go through each of these levels of these wild animals, and meet the dead body of Wesley. They go to a Miracle Max, they save his life. They go back to the castle. Emilio Montoya gets his revenge, and Wesley gets to reunite with Buttercup, and they ride in the sunset. And at the very end of the book, it's up in the air whether, from the standpoint of the author, he says most likely what happened is they got to the ship, they managed to live for some years, but they were always being chased by Prince Humperdinck, and eventually Wesley got bored of her, basically. He says that in the original version, the one he abridged, it actually has it so Wesley, who had died, and it really was only supposed to be for 30 minutes, he was supposed to continue being alive, actually did die, and he died again in that moment, fell off his horse. Emilio Montoya, who was bleeding out to death, also died in that moment, and they eventually just got captured by the prince, who killed them anyways. And so, that's a more depressing ending, but I love it how it leaves the ending open. So, yeah, that is the summary of it. I know it's a very brief summary, but also probably kind of long. I don't want to give too much away, even though I gave away too much, a lot of the storyline. But basically, that is a summary of the book. I didn't go into too many of the changes, but there are a couple of changes that I will talk about now, because these are my personal opinions. First off, I'm going to just start with I'm going to start out by saying, while I grew up with the movie, and I love the movie so much, the movie is so good. After reading the book is just so much better. I'm going to talk about it in a video on this channel sometime about books versus movies and why I think books are better. Before starting this channel, I was doing a movie channel. I love movies. I would love to get into the film industry. Don't get me wrong about that. But books are just better. And this is an example of it. The movie did a really great job. And if you want to watch a movie version of this, the movie adaptation is incredible. I love it. I grew up with it. I can't stress enough how much I love that movie. But in the same way, I will have to admit that the book is better because it has scenes that, you have this one moment in the movie where Emilio Montoya was like, yeah, my dad got killed by the six-fingered man. I spent years of my life training. In the book, you actually get to have a flashback and you get to see the whole scene. You get to meet Emilio Montoya's father, and you get to see the heartbreak in him of that moment. This 10-year-old seeing his father get killed in front of him, and just having to accept that, having you see him being trained up. You also get a backstory of Fezzik too, and you get to see in the movie, it's literally just he's a giant and he's one of the best characters. In the book, you get to see how he had spent his whole life going from fight to fight because his parents could make money off of how big he was, and he never could find someone who could beat him. You have that. He has more depth in it. All these characters, there are so much scenes that are just adds to it. This is not a movie review. I want to stress that. But I have to mention from the standpoint of the fact that I watched the movie first, and one day I'm kind of thinking about putting out a video on this channel sometime, just breaking down and listing top 10 movies I watched before reading the books. Because it does shape you, but in the same way, I honestly think the book is better in this case. There are some problems with the book. One, as people have stressed enough already, Buttercup is kind of an idiot in the book. She's still kind of an idiot in the movie too, but she's even more so in the book. To the fact where, as I said, the ending, the author kind of leaves up in the air how it ends, but he also mentions that the Dread Parade Roberts one day might just get old of her because you realize how dumb she is and just boom, leave her. That's kind of a sad way to say it, but in the same way, yeah, she's kind of an idiot in this version. There's also, I didn't really like in the movie, there was this sense that there was some time that after it was revealed to Buttercup that Westley also loved her and all, they lived happily for a little bit before he had to leave. In the book, she doesn't really care about him at all. Then the Countess, the six-finger man's wife, sees him and is thirsting over him, and she suddenly becomes jealous and realizes that, oh, what, dude, this farmer boy that I've been tormenting, he's kind of hot. And then for the next day, she's thinking about that, and finally she goes to his place, tells him. And he just shuts the door okay. And then he comes back later and she's like, oh, you're going to tease me? And he's like, no, I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to be heading off to America. And she's just like, why? And he's just because of what you just said. I mean, I've been wanting to be with you for years now. And you finally just said that you love me too. And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, I keep telling you that, as you wish. And in the movie, she figures out herself, oh, every single time he says as you wish, she's actually saying I love you. In the book, he flat out has to spell it out, not even just oh yeah, that's what I mean. He literally has to say, how do I have to say it? I-L-O-V-E-Y-O-U. I love you. It's just she's that dumb. It's kind of hilarious. Yeah, so that's kind of I wish they had a little bit of time there, but also in the same way, I'm going to talk about the Hunger Games sometime on this channel because that's one of my favorite series. But it's in the same way of what happens with Peter, where it's the moment everything's going to be good now, they're finally both in love with each other. That's when tragedy hits, and I both hate that and love that. That's I would all Well, again, we're going to talk about Mockingjay and then all the Hunger Games book, but I just love how Suzanne Collins, that was bad writing, but also great writing at the same time. It's that's what makes it great writing, is that it's such not what should have happened that makes it what it should have happened, if you get what I'm saying. So, yeah. In the same way with this one, it's okay, I wish they had had a little bit of time together before. But then, honestly, the biggest one that stood out to me was, in the movie, they have it so, and the king, they have it so, there's the announcement, the king dies, he becomes queen, the boo, queen of slime, queen of filth, that whole thing happens, and then she wakes up, and then it reveals, oh no, the king hadn't died, and that was just a dream. In the book, and I hate this, and I get it why he did it, and he explained why he did it, but in the book, he instead, before even starting that moment, he said, by the way, what I'm about to read is just a dream. It is not real. I was worried as a little kid about this. I'm just going to let you know now so that you don't have to worry. I'm I wish they had put that afterwards, because I feel like it would just be better to have a little bit of that moment, in the movie where there was that suspense. Every single time I watched the movie hundreds of times, and every single time I watched it, I still, for a second, as a little kid, would forget, what, the king died? I'm no, he didn't die, that was just a dream. just wish they had done that in the book. Yeah, but anyways, the point is, overall, I think the book is better. Will I continue to watch the movie all the time? Heck yeah, that movie is awesome. I love that movie. I'm going to make sure that I have a copy of that book, because that book is so much fun. Funny enough, right after reading that book, I got my brother a copy of it for Christmas, because I'm like, here, you're gonna love this book. He's 13 years old right now, and hates reading, and I'm like, here's a book, read this, it's gonna be fun. If you're watching this video, Joseph, turn off the video and go read a book. I love this book. This book is amazing. I really suggest you guys read it. And if there's any books you really want me to review on this channel, let me know. I'll get to the Hunger Games eventually. I love those books, especially Sunrise and the Reaping. That book is amazing. I'll get to other books like, I'm going to continue to put out C.S. Lewis book. There's another video that's in the back of my head that I'm probably going to record right after recording this, on AI, that this last week I've been passionate about that, so I'm going to be recording that video. Tell me your thoughts below. Thank you guys for watching. Peter Wary, signing off.